did I say? Over toward the bottom right.
Why would you say that, Fear Durgan?
Well, because MaSa is right-handed. And he's a little bit shorter than Astrea.
Astrea's pretty
So
tall,
that's where the
isn't he?
punch would come from. Yeah. No, this is going to be that proxy barracks that he sent out that SCV nice and early on. And you know what, Zombie Grub? It's not necessarily that much closer to his opponent. I think this is actually just pure typical MaSa, right? Where he is probably still going to build a lot of his stuff back at home or in that general vicinity. But it just makes Astrea be like, okay, are you doing the full-on proxy? Are you fully all-inning me over here? Because even the factory is down there.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what you would be looking for with the probe. Upon seeing the two gases, you know that they are in fact proxying, not like hiding it somewhere cheeky. And then you know they're going to be committing at least to a factory, if not also a starport. So now it's kind of the Protoss' job to figure out what to do from here. You could try and punish the main base for having no defense, but that's a very, very risky maneuver. Like maybe if you were already proxying your own gateway, you would do it, right? But otherwise, not so much. And then you have to see what type of proxy is coming out. I mean, is it, you know, a tank marine push? Is it a cyclone with two factories, which I think I've seen MaSa do before? Is it Hellions and a Hellion drop?
Zombie Girl, I hate to interrupt you, but I'm looking at that scoreboard that we actually have on the overlay right now. Is that accurate? Asuna's 3-2?
I guess so. Who did you recently beat?
That's actually crazy if that's correct.
I mean, I don't doubt it's I don't doubt it's correct. Asuna,
wow.
The last time he played was 2-0 versus Astrea, so there it is. Asuna 2-0 versus Rob. So.
Oh, okay. I guess maybe he still has some of the hard hitters to play. I know, but that's still nuts. Asuna, so I have to say, his series versus Astrea was like cannon rush and like proxy gate and stuff. But man, it's crazy to also be able to beat Rob and stuff. I actually really did think that Asuna was probably going to be one of the unfortunate players that was at the bottom of the group for all of this. But anyway, sorry, didn't want to interrupt this game too much because it is going to be kicking off with these Hellions moving across the map.
That'd be excellent time filler if we needed it, but we got to talk about these Hellions. So he raised the barracks to only hide it in his natural, and the medevac is coming from all the way back into his normal base. I mean, I thought he was going to proxy the starport basically where the Hellions are now, and then do a liftoff, but he just went for the regular Hellion opener, perhaps hoping that Astrea would be thinking of so many different options that he would forget to block out the natural. And now that didn't work, and there's nothing else complicating matters, he's going to go for invisible Widow Mines, getting that armory for the invisibility, and then maybe, am I seeing a Cloak Banshee follow-up? Is that what the tech lab's on the starport? What?
It's always hard to say with MaSa because he is there to mess with your head. Now, the Widow Mines are going to be able to burrow inside the main base, and just after their shots get used, the armory finishes, and they are Cloaky boys for life. Now, we are going to end up seeing not that many workers actually end up falling there. It's what, 2 workers killed total so far this game? I think it was just a stalker that got killed, really.
Yeah, another one went into the gas geyser, so it was not a very good drop at all. Astrea, being a smart boy, went for a robo against the humongous question marks. Like, if you don't know what your opponent is doing, the robo is the best option. If you know exactly what you're doing, maybe you can go for a Twilight Council, maybe a Stargate. Robo is just the far easier option. His observer was already there. He cleaned it up with like 5 seconds of it being invisible. MaSa's build is not working out very well.
Yeah, it's definitely getting shut down. I think this is just going to show you like how much better of a player Astrea has become. Because I actually do think, well, he's going to lose another Stalker over here, but I guess he'll get the Widow Mine in exchange. Oh my god, actually 4 Hellions versus 2 low health point Stalkers that lost their shields from the Widow Mine? Wait a second, MaSa actually wins that.
That's actually kind of funny.
Man, that is I mean, this is like such a MaSa-like game. Look at that. Even just tries to move in from behind with Widow Mines. It's like, MaSa, he has an observer. He's been using the observer, man. But he's there to mess with your head. And as he draws these Stalkers out of position, he's hoping that the medevac drop into the natural is going to be able to get something done. Remember, he doesn't have drilling claws or anything, so these Widow Mines do not burrow fast enough to get a lot of damage.
Huh, interesting target fire. I guess he was worried the one on the left was going to actually hit the probes. So he didn't kill the one in the middle. But he actually didn't even lose a sentry, which would have been I mean, losing a soccer is not great, but losing a Sentry would have been a bit worse. So MaSa is finding some success, but I'd be a lot more, I'd feel a lot better for MaSa if it was success in direct damage as well as clearly Astrea is getting, messed up. You're talking about he's such a great player. I really think that's showing here in these types of games where you can just actually still continue building probes, continue on with your build, even when you take all this damage and you're constantly wondering what the hell is my opponent doing. So Astrea is still up by 14 workers despite little bits here and there. And MaSa is one of his greatest weakness right now. Is not just the potential lack of production. Only finishing up 2 more barracks just now. It's still at 3, not even 5. No stim, no combat shields. He doesn't really have an actual Terran army. Even supplies don't look that bad. The actual situation is, I feel, really bad.
Yeah, I feel like you put it really well. It's like the way that Astrea is bad against MaSa is that Astrea actually, he does these prepared build orders, but oftentimes his build orders, honestly, like if you look back at them in retrospect after each game, a lot of his builds just have these big holes in them. Like they're weak, they're very weak to certain things. Astrea is a player that is willing to take those kind of risks because he identifies how his opponent plays or what he thinks is going to happen. And I do feel like MaSa is really good against those kind of players. Typically, I actually think like MaSa takes advantage of that with the Scarlet a lot in the past and everything. But Astrea has actually just gotten good enough that even with, like you were saying, like he's just so strong and confident about how he's handling and microing and managing a lot of these situations that he can get away with those things a lot more consistently. I actually feel like that is what the training in Korea has done for Astrea. He didn't really lose the heart of his playstyle. He just got better at making it work when it shouldn't.
It kind of feels like the stability's been a little bit of an issue amongst the, well, I'll say basically amongst Scarlet. I don't know why I'm beating around the bush here. I was like, well, no, Special's actually pretty stable, and actually Neve does pretty well. Anyways, but Scarlet doesn't actually have a lot of stability, and that sometimes is her strength because she can be very varied and just like do her own stuff that's really awkward and weird. And that's why MaSa is sometimes taking the better of her. But it feels like at a certain point, MaSa's build kind of like a Bly situation at a certain just level overall just don't work out anymore. So that's why MaSa is very rarely taken on some of the top Europeans or certainly not many of the top Koreans, not in a long time anyways. So, and I think Astrea has actually ascended to that. You brought up the versus the Suna match, and it just sounds like it was weird enough, I guess. Maybe Astrea was having a bad day that day, but this is the Astrea we expected. Not just good for NA, but good for the entire circuit, every region. Yeah,
I will say, like, the Asuna match, it's a surprising result to me. But as soon as because I was watching some of those games, I was like, oh, actually, yeah, I can see Astrea losing that way. Like, he does cut corners a lot like that, and sometimes not doing the best thing. But man, this engagement here from MaSa, I'm not sure I fully agree with it. He was trying to go for the auto turret harassment during it, but the Colossus just roasted and toasted every single one of those Marines and Marauders. Like, that Colossus is sitting up at 5 kills, and it just finally got involved in the game.
Yeah, MaSa again at that supply that's like, well, that's not really that bad, is it? And it's no, it's not that bad, but he's gonna have a Protoss very comfortably up to 5 bases, double forge, and with all forms of splash, I would imagine very soon. Against the Terran player who is a bit later to the upgrades, who can't really find any momentum, and actually has a fairly fast 4th base, sure, but isn't finding many avenues, many openings to punish Astrea. So the supply is starting to, I think, reflect a little bit more as we get more warp-ins from Astrea, what this game actually entails. And then if Astrea really feels comfortable, okay, well, that's a big mistake. It's a big mistake. It's a big mistake. Hello, Astrea, what are you paying attention to? What?
Oh my God, like, I honestly, if Astrea had just paused right there and been like my keyboard malfunction, I wouldn't have been surprised, but he's just gonna lose everything over here. Oh, there's a drop inside the main base. That's what he was looking at.
No, that actually didn't happen until he lost the 2nd army. Like,
I have no idea. What could he have been looking at? It's like he's just trying to do a macro cycle and completely didn't hear the alerts or something.
I don't know. He was attacking the kind of leftover attack on the right. That's why his army was split up in the first place. But that was very odd. I'm getting flashbacks to Inverse Innovation, though, where it's just like, it's just like, okay, this isn't going so well. But he does still have that superior army supply, and I think he might have just used the amount he was ahead. I feel like he just used that up in that little piece there because it's actually even a little bit still snowballing as he might lose a couple probes. He's not quite going to lose that Colossus. Good blink to guard it, but Ah, yeah, I guess Astrea's still okay, but man, I thought he just kind of threw right there. I was really scared.
That got really, really bad for a moment. And I have to say, like, he's got a big mineral bank as well. He's going to warp in a couple of DTs to put on a bit of harassment here. And he's still got that Warp Prism alive, but a lot of his splash damage is just gone now. So he's got upgrades. That's like, I think his biggest thing right now is that he's got these nice upgrades that have been coming out from the Double Forge. And he's got a lot of zealots, but he definitely needs to be able to build up some of that splash now.
I guess that's what has been taken away is the splash, yeah. But it just feels like without actually losing a base or losing a lot more army, Astrea still had all that base that he was building up from the beginning. You know, he had a very, very sturdy stance, and maybe he got knocked around a little bit, but he still held his stance. He's still up 40 supply, and he's still up 20 army supply specifically.
What is this Nexus location? It's like right in front. And MaSa doesn't, oh, he darts to the left, so he doesn't even end up seeing it. Now MaSa is coming in from behind with a big drop that's ready to move to the left, but I think he's busy with his micro moving his army away because he is severely outnumbered over here. He's gonna lose so much on the retreat. And the DTs just clean this up.
Yep, easy peasy. This is Astrea still winning. Despite that awkward engagement around the 4th and 5th, Astrea still had so much more army supply, especially when it came to actually warping in charge locks, which took a little while. And now the numbers are kind of insane. Not enough fighting stick on the Colossus anyways. MaSa, I guess he's not going to tap out, but I mean, he must be feeling this game is kind of over even from the beginning. Nothing really truly works.
Yeah, this was already a very, very rough start for him, but well, Astrea is looking to be in really good form today, so I don't think he's going to be falling too easily. The one true Maru, not today. So as he continues to storm on forward, MaSa's got to rethink, what am I going to do in game 2? As Astrea takes the first one.
The Hellions didn't do anything. The Widow Mines did very little. And then what was after that? The Raven harassment, right?
Raven harassed at the same time he moved in. Like, I feel like that was where the biggest things started falling through, where he tried to move in and fight that army for a really long time during the Raven harassment. He just lost, I felt like, way too much army supply. The Widow Mines didn't get a ton of damage done, but like they were at least killing things or killing like sentries and stuff. They're killing a few probes here and there. When just he kind of ended up suiciding in like 2 medevacs worth of units to try and kill the Colossus underneath the shield battery. Like, oh, that didn't go well.
Yeah, right. That's also what happened. Yep. Well, you know, despite all of the awkwardness that was the opener, I was surprised that MaSa was able to at least have one point where he was at even supply. 130 to 130 was around that point. But it was because I feel like Astrea was just still building up. It wasn't at his final form. And that was also probably his weakest point, which I thought MaSa had finally been able to find, but I can't believe Astrea lost the army fight to the right. He still had like 30. It was at first, it was like, oh no, he still has 30 more supply, and then it very quickly became, oh, he has 50 more supply. All right, we're fine, never mind. That's just the power of Astrea right now, and MaSa is gonna have to think of a trickier opener. I was really shocked he chose just regular Hellions running through the natural as his proxy. Jeez. Yeah,
I'm not sure. Like, I think if there's one thing you learn when you talk with MaSa is the way he picks his build orders or his choices oftentimes revolves around like a prediction of what he thinks his opponent might do or is likely to do. So maybe he felt like Astrea was going to cut like a different corner or something. I feel like actually a lot of MaSa's games that just go really horribly in the beginning can oftentimes, if you talk to him, be traced back to like, well, I thought they were going to do this, and I was super wrong. Like, a lot of his games that he looks really silly are like that. It's not necessarily all of them. Sometimes it is an execution thing, but yeah, I could absolutely see that being the case.
I think it is. It's just, I guess because if maybe Astrea had not scouted what it really was, and he took a little while to scout the actual factory, maybe he's afraid to wall off his natural in case it's like, I brought up a tank push or a cyclone push, which is MaSa has done in the past. So yeah, that could have very well been it. If there's no wall, even if Astrea is like mindful of the Hellions, it's just so much harder to actually tear them down because you're also kind of thinking about the main base too, and you only have so many stalkers because you're the Protoss race and you can only warp in so much stuff. So yeah, there's probably there's another game probably in MaSa's like recent ladder history where that works brilliantly against a Protoss player. They don't wall off. They're so concerned about a Banshee or something like that. But Astrea had covered all corners. He had covered Hellions, he covered Banshees, he covered Widowmine drops, and he was still ahead in all the workers.
Yeah, solid middle of the road sort of style there. And like you said, just I don't know where your barracks is. Robo is a really, really nice, safe middle of the road option there that will cover all your bases. So literally, we're going to move on to Everdream now for game number 2. This is going to be an important game for MaSa because he has played Future. He has played, and now he's playing Astrea and everything. But I think of the 2 biggest hard hitters that a lot of people would look at this group at. But I think that this is going to get pretty close and down to the wire here for MaSa in terms of it being able to advance out of the group.
Yeah, it's going to be closer than he would like. That's for sure. In the bottom left, not really too concerned about it, is the blue Protoss, Astrea.
Oh. And up at the top right-hand corner of the map, a teammate of Astrea. He is from Team Alpha X Esports, MaSa.
Well, I need something similar happening. MaSa is going to proxy/hide his barracks. And then maybe we don't see the second. No, the second gas is already there. Never mind. So it's not just one of those, where's my barracks? Actually, I'm doing a regular thing. He is going to commit to at least a factory as well. And Astrea will have to pay attention. Are you building it here or somewhere else?
Yep. Astrea is actually not even going to bother scouting the natural expansion right now, which is, a little bit surprising. But I guess he did discover eventually where the barracks and the factory and stuff were before. He eventually found that, so maybe he's just going to assume at this point, you know what, MaSa? You're willing to just do things that most other Terran players are not. I'll just accept I'm probably not going to find it. I'll just assume it's somewhere. It's somewhere. I'll prepare for both. I'll get up the Zealot, but I'm not gonna pretend like I'm actually gonna be able to scout every weird angle and area that you would potentially put it.
Yeah. It's so much more important to see the factory going home or not, you know? So the probe being in the main, it's maybe playing a bit risky by doing the harassment as well, but Astrea clearly believes in his multitasking, his micro. So by now, factory would have been at home. It was actually being pushed out. Actually at home, it's just behind the minerals. I got bamboozled. Thought it was a Supply Depot. Now he's actually building it at home, but it is kind of funny because now Astrea might assume that it is being built in proxy, which might also mean more of a committal to the proxy. Probe gonna go maybe.
Oh, doesn't actually end up seeing it, I think. Yeah, it goes unscouted.
So that should be out in the map then. Now that could be another Hellion opener. That could be one of the scarier things that can happen with the tank. But Astrea, I mean, he wants to scout something. So he's going to send his Zealot across the map. His Stalker is going to get caught by the Reapers. But when the Zealot sees the command center, he's going to go, oh, okay, I don't think I have to be that worried. But
yeah, nice
the second gateway actually is already Astrea taking this seriously.
Yeah, no kidding. Definitely respecting this. The Reapers both managed to stay alive, I believe, and well, they're going to come back to home to help out the SCV, build the command center. But now the Stalker, it still doesn't have those shields from earlier, and the Reapers have regen enough hit points. That's a dead Stalker, and that's going to be a dead Zealot as well.
I'm not surprised that Astrea wanted to commit. I mean, he had a second Stalker on the way, and maybe if he had waited for that and paired up with his Reaper Stalker, he wouldn't have lost 2 Stalkers. Also with some really good micro there. I mean, he did still scout there was a command center. It sucks to lose the units, but at least now you know that there's not going to be a big old committal. So the second gateway, it usually is a Twilight Council or Robo or Stargate. That was okay, I need to be careful here. But now he's going to go into a Twilight Council attack, hoping that he doesn't need detection, for instance. And he'd be right about that. He does not.
Yeah, especially with MaSa throwing down a fast 3rd CC. Now there's 1 Stalker out, but the probes are going to be able to add in a little bit of DPS as well, softening up one of the Reapers. MaSa on point with his micro. 4 probes killed. Those were some super high value Reapers. MaSa can be inconsistent as all hell with his overall tournament performances, but he is pretty consistent with his micro, gotta say.
He is indeed, yeah. And this isn't quite over yet. That Cyclone is still going to be king as long as the number of units for the Protoss are a little low. But MaSa does have to be careful. He doesn't know how fast the Twilight Council could have gone down. Those Reapers went for harassment, not for scouting.
Oh!
He's going to grab the sentry. Very nicely done. And he also delayed that third Nexus a bit, too, I think. There's a probe headed out anyways.
Yeah, I mean, the Cyclone is actually acting a little bit like a Reaper in a TVZ and just saying, you can't take your third until you push this back or you have Blink instead of, you know, actual Zergling speed or something. But, oh, this gets really weird. That Medevac, I think, moves a little bit faster than the Stalkers. And especially with the boost, it's going to be able to get back over to the main base. Remember, Astrea has fewer units than he would normally have because he lost 2 Stalkers and a Zealot early on.
The good news about Widowmine drops is that if you play it in an ideal way, you only lose 2 probes. So it might take a little while to clean up, but it's going to be worth 2 probes. Oh my god. Hits the one all the way back there. 11. That is amazing.
Is that more than 2? I think that's more than 2.
I think that was more than 2, yeah. But Astrea mishandled that, man. He didn't pull his probes immediately.
Yeah, I think he just did not expect the Widowmine drop to be the follow-up over there. I feel like, yeah, he's just been a bit bamboozled by how this game opened, not seeing the factory, the barracks being proxied. MaSa's mind games have absolutely been working out this time.
Especially his mind games, am I right?
Hey. Well, Cyclone getting picked off is not great. Raven losing a lot of hit points here, but the awkward thing is that it actually drives the Stalkers to move forward. So one Stalker dies to the damage of the bunker, other Stalker dies to the Widowmine. Stalkers are at least trading out for a few units here and there, but remember, Astrea just took a lot of economic damage, and he needs these Stalkers to stay alive for a bit. These are his lifeline.
That's a pretty terrible start for Astrea. I mean, it wasn't like it wasn't the most terrible thing if he only responded to the uncertainty, you know, the second gateway, the later technology, the later third base. It really became bad because he was all uncertain and he actually lost Probe army. Everything that MaSa wanted from the last game has finally happened here, really catching Astrea off guard in multiple ways. MaSa still has to finish the game, of course, right? Like he's gotten to a fast third CC, which is going to be really good, but is going to delay his first push for a little bit, and maybe Astrea can make that, I don't know, a comeback happen with something. He started a Twilight Council, or sorry, Templar Archives. He is going to go for some pretty fast Storm.
Yeah, that might be a really nice way to just be able to push back any of these pure Marine tank pushes, but with so many Marauders being added to the mix, this is going to be something that Astrea will need some time bought before he's really going to be able to kick into that. But with a third CC established over here for MaSa, he's probably going to be sticking around for at least a little bit until Stim finishes up and +1 weapons. We'll see how effective these Stalkers can be at just trying to keep MaSa sort of on the back foot for a bit.
Yeah, you can't really invest into more Stalkers. This isn't enough Stalkers to, like, you know, one-shot on a Medevac or a, you know, a tank. It's enough that he could use them to scout, but he can't really be investing into any more Stalkers. They're just, when push actually comes to shove, they won't hold up. But maybe if he can get a heck of a lot of Zealots and some good Storms, maybe that'll actually surprise MaSa and take down a potential tank bio push that is looking very strong. He's going to have a Raven included as well for an anti-arm missile. Or even, imagine a defensive matrix on a Warp Prism. Like, yeah. Oh, that'd be good.
Well, Warp Prism is on the other side of the map, and it's ready to warp in a few units here, so it might actually be able to just try and put on a little bit of harassment while MaSa is thinking about moving out. Stim and +1 weapons are finished up, and Combat Shields is nearing completion. Probably pretty close to the timing of concussive shells. MaSa's moving forward with a few units, but siege tanks are not unsieging. I think this is just going to be a poke forward. I don't think he's moving out with the whole army just yet.
I definitely meant interference matrix.
Yeah.
I'm watching too much Brood War, I think. Warp Prism in the main is an excellent maneuver to buy some time, and it is indeed going to buy time. That might be used later for the High Templars, but I like using it right now for Zealots. Just a few more seconds, not for any important upgrade to finish, but maybe another 2 rounds of Warp-ins.
It's too bad Interference Matrix can't prevent like a recall or something. Because then you could just Interference Matrix it and kill it off in the corner when it's getting recalled. Like, disable the recall.
Speaking of recall used in the Warp Prism, it looks like Astrea is going to just get a second Warp Prism, you know, and that's where he's going to ferry his High Templar. So he's going to have 2 options. MaSa is going to have to keep track of 2 Warp Prisms, and Astrea, I think, is even... I think he knows he doesn't have an advantage here, but he wants to scare MaSa or catch him in a choke. Now, feedback. Oh, okay. That was maybe not actually paying attention to. All right.
Oh, yeah. MaSa's taking a lot of damage on his bio over here, and MaSa is not known for his patience in waiting to heal up very often. He's gonna go for the anti-armor missile, catches a couple of the High Templar and one of the Immortals, but he is just gonna dive through the storms of the chunk of this army, snipes off a sentry, snipes off High Templar. And this other Warp Prism, I have no idea where it's going, but this Warp Prism is going places. Oh no!
Is it though?
Oh!
Right on top of that, missile turret is a little too much. Astrea, not able to buy any more time, is now really down in supply too. I think he just wanted. I think he was being more aggressive than he really could be capable of because he wanted to scare MaSa, and it didn't scare MaSa. MaSa has 16 more army supplies. He's not gonna be scared of very much. Not even storms. Maybe disruptors, which Astrea is getting to, and I really applied the sequence of events. It's still not enough to make up for earlier.
Yeah, MaSa's just gonna be stimming on forward with small chunks of units, right-clicking down these High Templars, even as they get the best storms possible. And Disruptors getting fantastic hits. MaSa's still up 50 supply. He might even be able to snipe off the Cybernetics core over here up on the high ground, which is gonna prevent additional Stalker or Sentry Warp-ins.
Yeah.
Gonna prevent additional tech too.
I feel like Astrea actually had, emotes to the storms. Am I the only one who saw that? He was like, whoa, awesome, great. That was good too. Micro from MaSa, always on point, takes out the Disruptor, still 50 supply above, and only has one more Disruptor to deal with. Okay, second one pops out. Auto turret is used opposed to an interference matrix, but that just looks like too much Terran army to me. Double Disruptor shot just gets two Marauders and a tank, but third one, no!
MaSa he's literally brute forcing his way through. MaSa is actually slamming Astrea over the head with a brick. But the brick is starting to crack a little bit, Zombie. I still think the brick is a little bit stronger than Astrea's head right now. But my God, is he really making it close.
Yeah, this Immortal also, by the way, is putting in tons of work. Whenever the Marauders are the only thing left over, the Immortal is reigning supreme, but finally that's going to get targeted down. Plenty of medevacs for all the heals. Disruptor's looking for another shot, but it's a pick up and lead. Second Disruptor is going to be target fired down. I do believe that it is. I think this is it. Astrea almost brought it back. Kind of an unbelievable fashion, but MaSa was just in too good of a place. And my God, Astrea's still not ready to give up. He's like, I got Robos pumping. No way, I'm not going to give up.
You know what? I don't blame him. After those Disruptor shots, after all of that, I think I would also be very bitter about giving up. I'd be like, but after everything, after every storm, after every Disruptor shot, really? Still not enough? Man.
I mean, most of MaSa's army supply are in medevacs, to be fair. It's like 11 medevacs. This Disruptor is not even one Marine. One Marine, that is it. Second Disruptor is almost out in that very weak Robo, and now MaSa also is trying to micro against the Stalker specifically, but the Zealot numbers have grown, and MaSa is actually going to be pushed back. Astrea actually holding here is kind of insane, but he's still down 50 supply. You cannot win this game, Astrea.
I'm afraid because actually you're so right about just how many medevacs are making up that army supply there for MaSa. And Astrea still has these Disruptors, and if he just keeps getting hits like this, I actually think this supply is going to start evening out. MaSa is not killing any more probes. He did kill a lot of probes earlier, but look at that. There's a massive High Templar warp in. Astrea is actually ahead in upgrades, and MaSa isn't starting up anymore. He's finally getting an armory, but Zombie, no, you can't. This is not possible.
It's not. No, he's still losing. If he had 5 Zealots killing 20 STDs as well, that's when we're still talking. But even then, MaSa is on 4 bases. So, even then, it's not going to be good enough. Astrea needs 3 more great Disruptor shots and 5 more great Storms, plus DTs. There's a pretty good Storm right there. But he is still going to exchange out some Stalkers.
3 more? 3 more?
No.
Zombie Grub, you said 5 good Storms. I just saw 2 of them.
And 2 great Disruptor shots.
Okay. Well, there is another good Storm. We'll count all 3 of those as 1. All right.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
That's 4. That's 4 good Storms.
My gosh. 2 more Disruptors. He's actually committing to 3-3-2. Of all the things in this game, 3-2.
3-2.
Of all the games to commit to, upgrades. Wow.
Okay, well, you know what? I consider I'm not going to count that as 2 good Disruptor shots, but that was a solid pick off.
What's he doing against Liberators?
Kill everything else first.
Yeah, kill everything else first. He's on 3 bases. He might start to replenish his stalker count, but MaSa is now, I think he's realized maybe brute forcing this isn't going to work. He's going to be adding on more positional units, you know, still producing those tanks, maybe some more Liberators. Astrea is playing a damn fine game. He's used everything that he could to bring it back. The only thing that was missing was the Warp Prisms, which unfortunately both of them got taken out way before the massive hold started. That could have been a big difference.
Zombie Grub, here's what I'm actually a little bit afraid of right now for MaSa, is that he has now allowed Astrea to get up enough units that I feel like he can now start making, things like this Zealot harassment are now possible. Because Astrea actually has, he has all these power units I was going to say that can potentially hold choke points like this, an inferior army supply, and now he can use the Warp Prism that's moving along the top side to move across the map. He's getting pickoffs on a handful of these other units. Maybe overcommitting a little bit there. My God. How many storms does Astrea have? He has 1 High Templar left. Okay, that makes a little more sense.
I can't believe he didn't get that Raven. Anti-armor missile. I don't know if it's going to help enough. Can't take out the storms, but there's a drop in the main base as well. It is going to be cleaned up without doing a whole lot.
The Warp Prism's also getting ready to move on in. The Archon's taking a lot of damage from that anti-armor missile as well, but I think that one of them may end up surviving. The shield battery overcharges, keeping them alive as well. Oh my God. Zombie Grub, the Warp Prism is also ready to move in, but that drop moves over to the natural. The Zealots were the only thing warped in there. The Forge is actually getting so low on hit points as it finishes the upgrade. It gets denied. +3 weapons. It's just going to be 2-2 here for Astrea.
That's still pretty good. I mean,
yeah. Well, MaSa has his own 2-2 finishing up soon.
Yeah, but you know, the fact that he even had upgrades on that is actually he got all the gas back. You know what that did? He got all the gas back. Now warp in like 10 Archons.
Oh my God, he's actually gonna
There's
warp
no
in,
EMPs. Please warp in Archons, in fact.
He's actually just lacking the minerals to warp in that many High Templar.
You're right. Oh, the Nexus goes down. He was hoping MaSa wouldn't consider going to the north, and while he might have been able to defend it, he was simply out of place. The target fire on top of the Disruptors is going to take out 2 of them, but the shot was pretty good from the Disruptor.
That Warp Prism is still alive. It's still alive and waiting for an opportunity. I think, okay, he's warping it. He's warping in a couple of Zealots over there. I was going to say, this is such a dire situation. He needs to get up a 4th base. I think what he's been doing here is just saying, I don't have the resources or the Warpins available to go for that. But now he's just going to threaten a massive counterattack on the right-hand side. That's his game plan.
MaSa has to win with quantity at this point. It's just...
Zombie Grub, we've been saying that for 7 minutes, okay?
We have indeed. We have. And if Astrea had played an absolutely perfect game, he had gotten up a 4th base or gotten all those Zealots that defended the main, those were in MaSa's main. Oh, hell yeah, I believe. But that is going to be it. He just wanted to do the storms. MaSa got such an incredible lead and still had to fight so hard to actually win it.
Well, Zombie Grub, we're going to give everybody a little breather after that game. Before we move into game number 3, you guys are watching DreamHack Masters North America. We'll be back in a little bit. After a heart-palpitating victory there for MaSa, we're moving into game 3, ladies and gentlemen. MaSa gets a really, really nice lead in that second game and is eventually able to close it out. But Zombie Grove, that is not the kind of game you want to win as you move into game 3. That's not like the way that you're like, oh yeah, MaSa has a lot of momentum going after that last game. That's not what happened.
You kind of get dragged down a bit just because you can't kill the guy. And you start thinking, am I the problem or is the race the problem? And then you start thinking about how much the race is the problem. I don't know if MaSa is a little bit tilted thanks to Disruptors and Storms, but it'd be hard to say that he feels ultra confident after that. He got a very good lead in the beginning. Maybe he would say that, like, from his perspective, it wasn't as much of a lead as we knew, because we knew that Astrea was also messing up in other departments, but he knows he got many probes. He knows he was supposed to win that, and it still took him forever. And, you know, the question is, can he even still get those initial damages done? I don't know. I don't think so. On the top left, sending out 2 SCVs, one for a depot, one for something else. He is MaSa.
And down in the bottom right-hand side of the map, we have the blue Protoss player, Team Alpha X Esports. He is Astrea.
You know, there's one more thing I wanted to note, but there are just so many things to note in that game. But I'll pick one. I really liked Astrea's disruptor usage, and before people go, lol, it's so easy. For instance, there was one time where he had 3 or 4 disruptors all alone on the left side, and while yes, shield batteries are cool, he made sure to, like, shoot with, like, the 1 disruptor behind, or the 3rd disruptor even, so that if it was, like, sniped, if the front one was sniped, it wouldn't stop the attack, you know? Like, and I thought that was so impressive.
That is a very deliberate thing, yeah.
Yeah, even in the heat of the moment, he was thinking of, like, well, I got to make sure that if the disruptor gets sniped, it's not going to be the one that's hitting, so at least it's going to be a trade. That's crazy.
So for those who don't know what Zombie Grove is talking about, by the way, it's that if, let's say, like, there is a location that you want to fire a disruptor at, or you want to storm or do anything, StarCraft 2 is something called smart casting also, where, like, it will pick the single unit closest to that location that can execute that the fastest. That's why if you have, like, 7 sentries in a hotkey with, like, a 1 sentry, like, that's back at home, and the other 7 sentries on your opponent's side of the map, when you force field your opponent, the sentry way back at home is not going to start migrating across the map to do the force field usually. The other force fields, or the sentries at the front, will naturally just be like, well, I'm around here, so I'll do it first. When Astrea has 3 disruptors selected and he tries to fire disruptor his opponent, the closest disruptor to his opponent will normally fire. What Zombie Grove is saying is Astrea fired deliberately selecting only the furthest back one and firing that one off, which requires a lot more extra micro.
Yeah, it does. People usually talk about smart casting. He's gonna lose
oh no, he's gonna lose it now. Oh, the surround.
They talk about smart casting as in when you click a unit, if you had 7 sentries, not all 7 sentries thrown on a force field, which is what happens in Brood War. That's usually what we talk about smart casting for. But yeah, there's other way, you know, that there's smart casting in StarCraft. So I wasn't thinking about that distinction, but it's a good distinction. So yeah, anyways, the Twilight Council going down. Seems that Astrea is once again, more like the first game, has read this very appropriately, where it felt like last game he really was questioning. He was like, well, I get a second gateway, right? Because I still don't know what this is. And then we can only assume he won't take 11 probes with the damage to the upcoming Widowmine drop.
Yeah, I imagine that's going to be part of the game plan for Astrea. It's going to be like, okay, so first thing I'm going to get up my gateway, my cyber core. I'm going to not lose 11 probes to the Widowmine drop, and then I'm going to get up a Twilight Council. And yeah, I feel like he's going to be in a much, hopefully, better situation to just defend against all of that shenaniganry this time.
MaSa, big fan of Soul, maybe? Memory on the way on 2 bases. That was the barracks that was literally just hidden just to cause a panic attack. It is a bit faster still on the factory, but just the Widowmine drop follow-up, yeah, more similar to the last game. Widowmine, are you going to do the damage? Even if it doesn't get 11 probes here, if the Observer isn't out, which is being coroned right now, so perfect timing there from Astrea, it could still have denied a lot of mining time. Well, now it's more so going to be looking for the actual probe damage.
Yeah, it's also worth noting that Astrea should actually have a few more units in position to spot for this kind of stuff a little bit faster. So he has the stalker already reacting. He pulls the probes away pretty quickly, and there it is. A proper handling this. This is a few more than I would have expected, but all in all, not too bad.
Yeah, a little bit of a mistake there, but not too bad. And with the Widow Mine, the Observer, the Widow Mines actually can't continue denying the mining, which is a little bit more of what you want when you open up like this, especially since, unlike Soul, who I think has really been figured out in his particular group with all of his Protoss, I don't think, MaSa can actually do anything. We've seen it already. He can literally do whatever he wants. If he proxied Cyclones, he'd be like, yep, that makes sense. So,
what if I drop again immediately afterwards?
Well, now Astrea is a little bit onto his tricks. He knows what the goal is. Good redirect to the gas mining.
Yeah, good control there. And that means he's picked up 7 worker kills, I think, across the 3 Widow Mines. So not too shabby, but how is his defense back at home? Blink is about to finish up. A couple more Stalkers warped in, and the War Prism is ready and waiting to give that high ground vision. I do see a Siege Tank well defended behind all of these buildings. This is actually going to be a tough position to break.
Astrea doesn't really have to fully commit to this, though, and I think that when he sees the tank, he will not. Kind of a freebie medevac there. That's nice. And the bunker is a little bit vulnerable. It's going to try and get a Stalker. It's going to try and be repaired, but just a little bit too late on that. I thought maybe it would try getting the Warp Prism instead. But the Stalker is even feeling aggressive. The tank was on siege. They grabbed the Raven. They're going to grab the tank next. And oh my god, these 3 gateways have actually provided enough momentum for Astrea to get so many SCP kills.
And he's even got the Warp Prism to act as a secondary blink, so any Stalkers that didn't blink back quite far enough can easily defend them. But oh man, the tank does manage to get up. It sieges up, gets a big shot off. I think kills 3 Stalkers there. But still, the damage has been done. Like you said, this is just such a light little pressure here. You were saying Astrea doesn't have to commit. He does need high ground vision, but I think it's provided by that Observer. He's waiting for the Warp Prism to give far left high ground division. Gonna be able to snipe off a tank as it pops out. Sniping off a few Marines here is gonna be nice too. And remember, there is stim on that tech lab, but I don't think he has enough Stalkers anymore.
Yeah, I got a little too close to the tank that was still on the ramp, so he's gonna have to evacuate. We would have loved to have gotten that Viking too, but loses 2 more Stalkers. A bit messy, this one, right? This was really nice in the beginning. You could excuse the kills, the losses in the beginning, with the kills he got, but the next couple of attempts have been a little bit more awkward. I brought up that it didn't have to be committed to because there's 3 gateways, but if you warp in, you are then committing to it, right? But that's the flexibility that 3 gateways gives you versus 2 or 4. Astrea has committed to this. It could have been a much faster 3rd Nexus. It could have been a much faster double Forge. Has he actually found enough damage? That's still, maybe a little bit in question.
Yeah, I actually really like this move over here because, again, the Warp Prism acts as a secondary blink. So you can blink over the wall and then just pick up. I misses the pickup on one of those Stalkers, but I was going to say, it's a little bit of free damage there. Denies mining on gas for a little bit. Picks up a few more Marines here and there. But behind all this, the important thing is that Astrea is getting up his transitions, and it's going to be Colossus coming on out this game.
Now, if Astrea hadn't lost 8 probes as well in this game, I'd be like, maybe that's okay. But the resources lost actually says that MaSa took a little bit of a benefit there. I mean, it's a lot more about the pacing of the game and how good these players are when things are a little more settled, right? And we saw last game that clearly Astrea is a very, very good player, even if he's super far behind. So I'm not even really worried about debating, okay, who's a little bit more behind. I'm just debating, okay, does MaSa actually get to capitalize? Actually get to push into Astrea? Because that is what I'm doubting.
No, I think that's a really good way of phrasing it. It's not necessarily about hand this to any 2 players that are evenly skilled, who's ahead or behind. It's MaSa versus Astrea, who's ahead or behind. And I agree with you. I think Astrea is going to feel more comfortable, probably in one of these kind of situations here. But MaSa is going to finish up his +1 weapons. He did manage to successfully finish up his stim and combat shields to be on the way behind all this. And I feel like it's not really MaSa's cup of tea to just sit back idly for too long. So I'm imagining in the next minute or so, he's going to find some way to try and poke and prod.
Minute might be an accurate call, actually, as a combat shield finishes up. So that's something that Astrea is going to be paying a lot of attention to. He wants to be able to send out that War Prism with a Viking finding it. I was going to say it actually can't get in there. It's way too weak. And now... the bait! Well, that worked out well.
Well, we just lost one more hit. I think it actually would have been in a lot of danger there.
Yeah, I think MaSa might want to put a missile turret up then, because he knows that Warp Prism is weak. Yeah, there you go. It's weak, and it's clearly going to do what I just described. Like, clearly. It's a little bit more questionable if you don't see the Warp Prism. Like, are they using it for High Templars back at home? Maybe it's off the right side. But absolutely, that's what it's going to try and do. Now, Astrea probably won't get any harassment, but he certainly has bought time to get to 4 bases, a decent number of Colossus, double upgrades, so he's already got that 1-1. As MaSa pushes out, and you're pretty correct on the minute time, by the way. Kudos for that. Astrea should be able to track it and defend it. Because out he has army in position. He actually finds a medevac. Nicely done. He's going to engage a little ahead of his army, a little ahead of his shield batteries to try and buy time with force fields. I don't mind it at all, even though he lost this entry in a big Zealot run by. Who cares about the Warp Prism? Just send the Zealots across the map.
Yeah, they are not going to be able to find a whole lot of damage there over at the 3rd base because the SCVs on the repair job for the bunker is going to save the day. But what about the natural expansion? MaSa not moving in with his army for quite a bit of time during all this. And now the force field's locking out so much of this army. Siege tanks finally siege up, but they're not in a position that's going to be very aggressive here. In the meanwhile, MaSa is losing tons and tons of SCVs back on the other side of the map. The Zealot will finally eventually get cleaned up. But MaSa has to make this push work now.
His own siege tanks even bundled up his bio army, making the Colossus a little more effective. Now he's a little more spread out. Now he's really doing the push that he wanted to do, but at 20 workers less. At 52 and 3 orbitals, it's not terrible, but he's not getting any more upgrades. He's not gonna have ghosts. He can't even kill the Nexus here. MaSa will be out of this game. I don't even know he can kill the Nexus. Disruptors are out, and MaSa has to worry about a bunch of Zealots coming from behind. He can't just assume Astrea will come down this ramp, and that's it.
And to make matters worse, Astrea is even finding an opportunity to take that bottom left-hand base at the same time. So even if MaSa somehow manages to break through over here, kill off the Nexus, this is still a dangerous situation. I actually really, even though it doesn't work out, I really like the move MaSa was trying to go for there. A bunch of these Marauders trying to snipe off those Disruptors that were sitting in the back. Really, really cool idea. He is going to be able to find 2 of them, but he trades basically all the Marauders for that. He will get this Nexus, though.
That actually did more for MaSa than just the attack. Like, the Stalkers went over to help the Disruptors, and because of that, 1 and then 3 Vikings killed 2 Colossus.
Oh my God.
So that was actually pretty insane. Unfortunately, while that happens, you're right, he had another base he could just fall back to, and the DTs are adding more economic damage. MaSa does find the base that opens up opportunities for drops, and this is still a little bit more complicated than I anticipated. And Astrea has not handled this perfectly.
Yeah, MaSa, he does end up losing one of the siege tanks that were on the lookout. And I was going to say, he was almost had the ability to get in range and put Astrea in a very awkward position out there where he's going to be able to siege up a lot of that main base. But man, these DTs did so much work. It's not even necessarily just the worker kills or anything. It's just how much time they bought. It's how many reinforcements they have delayed from making their way to this position. And there's even actually more Zealots charging across the map, literally, to try and get in position to continue to harass MaSa. MaSa's not even mining for the 3rd base. He's literally lifted it off and floating it away.
Yeah, he's like, I don't even want to deal with it anymore. More Disruptors have been made, and with DT finishing up, he could use that for more harassment, or he could just blink on top of the tanks, which he is not even going to have to blink on top of. No scan available. 2 tanks instantly go down. The high ground is working out well for Astrea as well, and not